Let's talk about how children learn language in the beginning. And I use ability and disability. Ability, disability, those two concepts. I talked about this one several times in my lecture. Ability and disability, most of these ability and disability, we see these concepts related to our cognitive functions, our cognitive ability and cognitive capability. And our cognitive ability, capabilities are related to our language acquisition, language, how we learn language and later on in the vocabularies. So we have two comparisons here when we talk about the nature and nurture. And then when newborn baby is born, their brain, John Locke said, it's a clean slate. So that clean slate means it's a lump of meat. It does not mean anything until they record and then write something on the slate. So that is more like a behavioral perspective. Right? So behaviorism is every human behaviors are learned. So until you record something in your brain, it is just a lump of meat. That's what John Locke said. However, Noam Chomsky said, human brains are pre-wired. It's linguistically pre-wired. So he even said, babies, children learn even syntax naturally. So those theories we see in the young age children, it's all based on their linguistic stimulation, right? From the world, from the environment around, how much they soak those languages. So when I talked in different lecture, I talked about those, 50 million vocabularies and those, researches from the educationally high class, educationally medium level, and this is about the parents. So I'm saying just educationally. So higher education, higher degrees, and then parents with probably K-12 education of the high school working class, and then those welfare families and just they probably graduated high school more like in high school dropout, still, they finished the middle school levels. However, any kind of intellectual activities they do or not, it's a different story, right? So anyway, their current life is, in poverty level and with their children. So these children, the three groups of families, children, so they compared a number of vocabularies, and then they found there's a huge difference, especially those, educationally higher educated families' children and low educated families' children or poverty children. It was amazingly different, a big discrepancy between those groups. So we talked about this one and then related to those language. However, it is more like a potential ability for school education and school learning, and then their feature as well. So it is a very important concept, how we see children. I like these both because pre-wired, that is true. No, I mean blank slate, clean slate, it is true because babies, just as soon as they're born, newborn babies, there is no, behavioral proof if they learned anything in their mommy's tummy when they just, produced to a human baby. However, as soon as they are born, their nurture studied, right? Their learning studied, their recording studied, right? So if their brain is pre-wired, instead of they do one by one learning and then they remember, it is more like exponentially, they just pop bombed. So it shows around 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, and parents are very, surprised and amazed by their children's vocabularies. Some children are very advanced And parents just like think back, did we talk this much to our, girl and son? So that is, they're soaking all those languages around. It's not only parents, from parents and from, images and TVs, and then when they go outside and restaurants or just a playground, they're soaking all those visual images and then auditory informations. So visual, auditory, everything. So they are matching visual information and auditory information. That's a matching game. That is just how they learned about all those object names, right? So they saw the playground, let's go playground, that is auditory information. And then they went to playground and then they see this is a playground. So they started making image of a playground. That's a mental representation. Later, when they read or when they hear, they can make mental images that connected to comprehension, right? So they comprehend. So when mom said, let's eat dinner, come, let's eat. And then child comes, and then some kids are very smart ones. They just set the table, try to set the table. They put the napkins there, or just mom already set the table, and then they saw there's a napkins missing, and then they put the napkins. So that let's eat, that word is auditory information, but they already have eating at the table. And then when we eat, the mom usually put what kind of stuff there. So children do that. They don't see the napkins, and napkins should be there. That's a visual, right? Images. They know that napkins should be there, and the mom always put the napkins, and then mom, I can help you, and then they just put the napkins there. So it is a very important concept, and then this is the beginning of our children's cognitive development. This cognitive developmental progress is all language is the cognitive and language is just like a very interrelated, interlinked, those development wide, and then social emotional very just it's a social emotional, that concept is an invisible concept, right? That's between humans. And then they learn the senses. So those napkin is just child sense. The visual images the child has. However, child knows if I put the napkins there, and then mom will praise me. And oh, you did, thank you. And mom smiles, mom responds, and daddy responds. So they do more those work to get praise. That praise is affection. It's a parent's love. And then parents trust me, and then that becomes it believes, right? It's a very solid social emotional foundation they built. So it's like a language, social, emotional, then moral functions are all just like a well balanced, and then they grow together. So anyway, this, Chomsky's and John Locke's clean slate and this pre-wired theory about the language learning is about their language learning is learning about the world as well, right? So we have a verbal language, and then we have a written language, we have a spoken language. So it's all together, because the language you learned and then you don't use it, that's nothing. So children started utilizing saying up to 18 months, they are just all receiving. It's a very passive learners. They are receiving, but they are storing in their brains. And then once their oral motor functions developed, so they can move their tongues as they need and want, and then they're just like lips in. So they can move those, and then their voice is all together mechanically, physical functions are all ready, and then it comes out, right? It comes out through their mouth. That's a spoken language. So they started saying meaningful language from 18 months. So that's a milestone age, and some kids get delayed, and then around by 2 years old, the children do not make meaningful verbal languages, and then pretty much parents should have referrals to ask about that early childhood intervention programs in Michigan early on, and then get the discussion about, and then they can screen the child, and then if necessary, and they do evaluations, and then children can get early intervention programs for communication. So it is important, early age, they should have a proper language abilities. And again, this, clean slate brain, it does not matter, like Noam Chomsky says, pre-wired. It does not mean they're gonna observe, they're gonna just learn without any stimulation. It's pre-wired, like in the solar panels, so they are ready for that. And then sun comes up, and then they are soaking all those solar energies, and they save it, they transfer to the home power, right? Like that, children's brains are ready. However, there is no suns, no stimuli from the outer world, and then children's brain just stays as it is. So that's why we have this, families more talkative, more chatty, and then a lot of things going on, and then many family members in and out, relatives, extended families, and then parents just join a lot of social activities, and then these children's language just like a pre-wired solar panels, they just boomed, right? So many children even just say the words, they even don't know where they got that. Me, in English, in my middle of writing, I just I wrote, what is this? It just came out automatically in my writing, and then I Googled it. And then, oh, this is the right meaning. When did I get this word? I never intentionally memorized this one. My memory skill is so bad. So I'm very cognitively good thinker, and I believe I have a strong metacognition, but my memory and memory is really, really bad. I cannot memorize well. So that kind of moment, I just was surprised. That means I probably just that's a pre-wired brain, linguistically pre-wired brain explains. So we see this, and I have a lot after that, how children moves from that point, especially parents with children, young children. I strongly encourage them to, I don't know how to say, this is just not teaching. However, intentionally play with your children with language, written language. Okay, so when I have another chance, I will just explain this one a little bit longer. However, just if especially the parents have young children, and smart one is also, and then less smart one, cognitively a little bit delayed one, I strongly believe we teach children to read in early age. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this method a little bit later, different lectures, but why we have to teach these children early, teach reading early age, because our, what we can provide the children is still limited. And in modern society, parents are so busy. We cannot provide all those stimuli as we wish. Okay, so we teach them early age, even age, just, I started teaching my children. First one is, really baby, just like 100 days old. And then intentionally taught them to read again in age 4. So these are that early age I used in the whole world method. However, when they turn to 3 to 4, that time I taught them through phonics. Okay, because these are also helping their articulation, spoken language articulation, make them just speak more correct sounds. And these early teaching, and then they means they access books early age. That means it's not only a real physical learning about the world, however, they can learn through the books, right? They can travel to France, they can travel to Germany, they can travel to Korea, they can travel to China, wherever they want to go. It's a Alice's Wonderland. They could travel around the intellectual wonderland through written language. And that helps them very intellectual curiosities, intellectual adventures, and especially the children has some cognitive developmental delays, so they can play game. They must play game ahead. Children in Head Start programs, they play game ahead. If parents cannot do that, and then those early intervention programs, early childhood programs like Head Start, the teachers should intentionally teach. It is, I know, many people will say, no, we do not give stress to children through teaching reading. It is not about what we do. It is about the method. If we really believe this is a teaching and then we teach children intentionally sitting at the table for the test, like elementary school or secondary school does, weekly test. No, it is a play. So young children, those young age children in developmental age children up to 6, the adults they like parents, they die for the parents, right? It just parents is the universe to them. It is playing with the parents. They don't care. This play is with real toys or any real object or with a flashcard. They just love the time staying with the mom, staying with the dad, staying with the teacher. Especially if it's a one-to-one time, they love it. Especially if you have a physical touch, they love it, right? And then it doesn't require many hours or just minutes. It's just 5 minutes a day, a time. Even in a Glenn Norman's method, it's just less than 1 minute. It's 5 seconds. It's just multiple times a day. And the result is amazing, those children. So gradually, I'm gonna just make another lecture about this early reading, early literacy, how we can teach children, okay? Especially children with potential intelligence. That means they may be identified as a disability with disabilities if we don't do something early enough, okay, effective ways. And then they're gonna be in special education. That means pretty much that young age, they already know they are losers and failures, okay? So we don't wanna do that. Even second graders, when I taught, they just screamed. They don't want to go to special education. They knew what special education means. Okay, so this teaching is very important. And then I just started talking about the language part and this spoken language. However, they access to written language, and then it will help their spoken language and then help their comprehension later on. Okay, I gotta stop now because I have to prepare my brunch.